Yep, like I said, we're looking at shadow AI today and the risks, the cost, and how it can be fixed within organizations. Yeah. So I wanted to draw an analogy, right? Like um maybe you're working at a firm and then you are told that, oh, you are shadowing somebody for the next few weeks, for the next few months. So that essentially means that you are not that person, but you'll be moving with that person from time to time, see what that person does and just learn from that person. So that's kind of how shadow AI works. But in this sense, it's not learning from you. It's just that it's not apparent. It's kind of in the background. It's just working. You can't see it like in software, especially for now. Shadow AI still exists in people's software. So that's like a technology that is running inside the organization, inside your company, but nobody can see it. And it has real life cost. So on to the next slide, right? So shadow AI is not a new thing, or the term shadow, the appellation shadow for different things is not new in any sense, right? Before we had shadow IT. So usually when organizations when they do like network infrastructure and they say, okay, we are going to drop just one Cat6 spot on each deck, like if you know all those Cat6 spots or LAN cables that they use for internet connection, like hardware internet connection, where you carry it from your router or your switch and you plug it to the laptop. So maybe like then, or like in the early 2000s, in the early days of technology, people were like, okay, we are only providing internet for desktops and we only provide one port for the desktop. We are not providing wireless connection for people. So sometimes staff will now bring their own wireless access point. And instead of plugging the LAN cable to their laptop, they'll plug the LAN cable to the wireless access point. So now they can now share internet across their three or four other devices. And in some way, they found a way to bypass that guardrail that has been put in place by their organization that was trying to avoid strangers from tapping into their network. So if somebody that was just passing by was able to tap into that wireless access point, then they have access to the network and then they can start acting and doing any malicious activity that they want to do. So after Shadow IT, we had Shadow SaaS. And SaaS here means software as a service. Different organizations, before we started having Microsoft Suite, Google Suite, or Google Workspace, right? Plenty organizations had like different apps that they were using when all these software products started coming up. And some of them were not regulated by the organization. So that was some example where people that had personal drives, Dropbox accounts, Slack accounts, and all that they were using to move files around. Then after that, we now have Shadow AI. So this Shadow AI that we have today, the shadow, this is the third shadow that we have that we are going to be discussing today. How people use AI in the shadows, in quotes. So moving on, people use Shadow AI because it helps them to do work better. Nobody is using Shadow AI because they want to spoil the organization or they want to stop the organization from moving forward or they have any malicious intent. And Shadow AI in itself, it's not bad. It's just risky, right? It's just very risky. And anything that has risk means that it has negative effect. It has its own downside. Shadow AI is the use of tools, models, or platforms by employees without the knowledge, approval, or oversight of IT and security teams. Right? So people using AI tools that have not been sanctioned, that have not been reviewed by organizations within the organization. So it's like they are freelancing in some sort of way, like they are freelancing their IT infrastructure to outsiders. And this time, these outsiders are AI tools. About 78% of employees bring their AI tools to work, and that's without the approval of the organization. So we can see that, and there are many people that use this shadow AI or use these AI tools outside of the jurisdiction of their organizations. They use them because they want to work faster. They use them because they are easier to use. They can get their work done easier. They produce better quality of work, and they're able to do more creative stuff. It also makes them more efficient. right? So that's why many employees reach out to use these kinds of tools, right? So we can see if up to almost 8 people out of 10 in any organization already use their own AI tools. When there was this time we had bring your own device. Right now it's like bring your own AI. You have your own AI for slides, you have your own AI for transcribing meetings, you have your own AI for design, you have your own AI for what else do people use AI tools for? For data analysis and all. So people have different AI tools that they use already. And I can almost vouch that somebody on this call used that AI tool today. Right? It has become mainstream. And if you were to get any tax done, you most likely have turned to an AI tool in one way or the other. So how does shadow AI like have effect on organizations? Like I mentioned earlier, people that bring their own AI tools. So we have like chatbot, coding assistants, especially for developers, like Cloud Code, Codex, and all that are integrated into their development tools, right? So through chatbots, sometimes people paste their data, they paste contracts, they paste documents into these large language models, these LLMs. For coding, sometimes source code that they wrote for their app, for their like that it contains the back end of their app or their solution, right? They paste it into these AI tools or this coding assistant, they have access to them. For designing, people that have not like maybe they have short pictures, they have done videos that have not been released to the public, right? Then they input these things into AI tools. These AI tools have access to them. So essentially, what we are pointing out is that there's uncensored access by these kinds of what's it called? By these kinds of actors, AI actors in this sense, to sensitive information within organizations. Then we have writing assistants. So those ones that you see like public chatbots in some sense, but things like Grammarly, people that use it to like clean up their documents and all. Then we have meeting assistants, like all those AI tools that just enter your meetings and they are taking notes of your meetings, they are transcribing your meetings for you and all. So that's also a way that AI tools can have access to very strategic information that people are discussing. So usually it comes at trying to be more productive. Everybody's saying, oh, if you're not using an AI tool, you're old school. If you're not using an AI tool, you are not optimizing yourself, you are not being efficient. But then you are now releasing sensitive data to external actors. So everything that looks like convenience on a day-to-day basis starts to become an exposure point for different organizations. Data can be leaked when you pass sensitive data into these large language models, data can be leaked. Intellectual property, like trade secrets, maybe one special formula for your product and all. Those kind of things get into the public. We also have compliance, right? When there's data that has been regulated without, and then you're processing it with an AI tool, then the AI tool, like now, what is supposed to be private, what's supposed to be confidential, that is supposed to audit how how the data has been passed through different sources. Once it gets into that AI, so that data is out of your control. There's also hallucination. When people use shadow AI, right, sometimes AI gives false answers just to try to achieve the goal of giving a response. And we also have adversarial misuse in this sense that these AI tools widen the the possibility for attack. There's something called prompt injection, where like inside an AI tool or when you are using AI, people embed like when an AI tool is working, people embed an anti-prompt in quotes, like a prompt that makes the AI do something contrary to what you want it to do. So sometimes people embed it into your work or into the AI tool, and then that becomes problem for you. Then we also have privacy violation. When you are working with sensitive data of other people, and then you put them into AI tools, and that data gets exposed to actors that is not supposed to get exposed to. That's the problem, right? Moving on to the next. So we have now examined these different sources of risks that shadow AI produces. So let's look at a scenario, a case study of Samsung and a community bank in the US. So Samsung engineers pasted like their source code for an internal meeting transcript. They pasted it to ChatGPT because they wanted to debug and like transcribe the meeting recordings to notes. So after 3 weeks, they found out that some of their intellectual property has been released and was inside that ChatGPT. So at that point, Samsung had to ban external GenAI tools across their company. So this shows you that sometimes, like now, many things that we know about all these AI tools, they were injected through other sources, right? So if this AI tool will know something more about you, once you inject it inside, it has the ability, these are privacy restrictions, it has the ability to learn from the information you have been fitted to it. Let me see. I hope my slides have changed. I'm currently on the side talking about Samsung. Yep, I think that's changed. So to the next scenario that we have, right? The second is about the community bank. So this was a bank in the US where an employee imputed private customer data inside the AI tool. And obviously, this is just the employee trying to get work done faster through the AI tool. And by doing that, they exposed sensitive information about people into the AI tool. So at that point, you can now see, I think it became public, and then they eventually like sued them because of that information that became public. Private information, in fact, that became public. Right. So it shows that legal liability is very possible when we use AI tools. So in a sense, it might not be applicable to people of certain demographics, but as business leaders in key organizations, when employees use AI tools without restraint on very sensitive client information, it becomes a huge problem. So there's the approach. There's the approach of just deciding to ban this AI to say, don't use this, that oh, by banning the AI tools, you have stopped people from. So this thought, people would usually, it's like people always find a way. People always find a way. If you ban all these AI tools, you just somewhere in your mind you might think that oh, people once people stop using it, the risks of is gone totally, right? But when you take that step, people find corners around it. People keep using them, and now you don't even know what they are doing with your data again. Because except for some organizations that just have very strict data rules, like I heard of an organization that you cannot send a file out of the laptop due to like once you start working there, they format your laptop and they collect like they uninstall your whatever operating system you're using for. They install their own operating system. And once they've installed it, you cannot send anything out of that laptop again. You cannot plug a flash to it. You cannot use USB cord on it. Nothing works on it. So let's say, except you take such stringent measures, like there's almost no way. And then you can even, like we were talking about shadow SaaS products before. When you talk about Gmail, when organizations feel staff, right, to host like a standard communication hosting. People start using other ways, finding out other ways to communicate. According to a survey that was done by Software AG, 46% of people say that they will still keep using these AI tools, even if these AI tools were banned. So after some reading and study on my own, I came up with this quote that shadow AI is a people problem than it is an AI problem. If you saw my status, maybe yesterday or day before yesterday on my WhatsApp, you'd see where I wrote something like this. Because when you look at the level of the problem, the pivot of the problem, it really rests more with people than it rests with the technology. So shadow AI is really like a problem that you have to solve on the people side more than you have to solve on the technology side. So going forward, we'll see practical steps on how to address this shadow AI problem. And we have three pillars that we'll be looking at. The first one is people, the next one is process, and the last one is technology. So on the people aspect, we are looking at awareness. You have to make people aware. You have to make them AI literate. And you have to give them things that encourage them to use AI tools in a safe way, right? That's one. Then second to the process, having clear guidelines regarding AI policy, classifying the kind of data that people can upload into AI. Classifying the kind of data that people can upload into AI and having ways to approve things, right? And having escalation pathways that okay, if something is this serious, maybe someone has to use an AI tool, you can find a way around it. And that brings us to technology. When you have approved the AI tool that people can use, you can now monitor it and put guardrails and guidelines around it that make it possible for you to manage and supervise how people use these AI tools. So we would see, so this is like the is it PPT framework we'll call it. People, process, and technology. So we would see briefly more about people, process, and technology in managing shadow AI. So the loop you would see on your screen in a bit is like an iterative loop around managing shadow AI. It starts from observing, right? When you monitor the network, we'll see also more details around API calls. Like when you have AI tools that are embedded inside your product, right? Or within your network, you can monitor how many times people are accessing certain websites on your network, right? So first is observing. Second is now taking action on this observation that you have made, right? Looking at how much data is exposed to people, right? It also brings us to orienting people. So looking at the data that has been exposed upon observing, right? And looking at the risks that arise from this data that has been exposed, which kind of sensitive data has been exposed to people. Then you also come back to acting on things. So you can update your policy, like having, okay, this don't upload 16 digits numbers into AI, don't upload people's names, don't upload PDF documents, don't upload videos of people, like having policies around this AI tools usage, right? And then you can now train the organization. You can orient people on how to use these AI tools, what risks exist, because sometimes when people don't understand what is at stake, when people don't understand what can be put into AI and what can't be put into AI, right? They just go on without leash, right? So after you've observed, you've put these policies in place, then you now look at which AI tools you can remove, which AI tools you can block, which AI tools you can restrict, and then would eventually come to discuss having like an enterprise AI tool that you get for your organization alone. So we've spoken about AI usage policy. We've spoken about training people within the organization to the kind of risks that are posed by these AI tools, like retraining them, orienting them, letting them know what they can put into the AI tools and not and what they cannot. Data classification also speaks to like the grades of data. Okay, which data is more sensitive? Okay, you can put maybe reading notes, you can meeting notes rather, you can put um drafts of emails. You can use AI tools in those aspects. But okay, maybe financial statements of organizations, we don't put that into AI tools. So you can set those guardrails around the data that people can put into AI tools. Then having champions. When you are introducing new AI products to people, when you are introducing new ways of doing things to people, it's important to have like champions among the staff, right? That are more like tech savvy, that can put people in line with these new developments that you are bringing in, that can assist people that are not so tech savvy, people that don't understand what's going on and all. Then having approved AI tools. So we know that people use these AI tools to increase their productivity, right? If you are going to deprive people from having AI tools, okay, let me give us an example. Let me give us an example. In the course of my research, an example that someone made regarding testing how many of your employees or how much of your staff are using shadow AI tools. The person said do an essay challenge and tell people to write a 600-word essay and tell them to submit it. That maybe they'll win $50 or $100 for writing the essay, and see how many polished essays you get back, like how many cleaned up essays you get back. So you can only tell that, oh, to an extent to all this number of people use these AI tools, and it's going to be very high. Remember the 78% that we saw earlier at the beginning of the presentation. Because we know that people obviously use AI tools to increase their productivity, depriving these AI tools from people will not help them, and they'll still find a way around it. So this now calls for having an approved AI tool that people can use for different things. Okay, this AI tool for analysis, this AI tool for writing, this AI tool for slides. These are the AI tools that we agree with. Then you can even reach out to the companies that own these AI tools for enterprise subscriptions. This is part of the incentives that we were talking about earlier. When you provide premium subscriptions for people, enterprise subscriptions for people within an organization, it is easier for like your staff to move to this new AI tool that you want them to use. Then having organization-wide AI literacy. This also ties to employee training that we looked at earlier. Having this literacy training helps people to know which AI tools to use to increase their productivity, why the AI tool you are giving to them is the better one, why they should not find other ways to upload sensitive data into shadow AI tools. And at the end, having AI impact assessments, right? Maybe you could test through a large language model and ask it about some crucial information about your organization and see how much it knows, right? That's one way you can see how much data has been leaked into AI tools. Yeah, so I've spoken to some of the things that are here already. So these solutions are now like more advanced solutions for big organizations, right? Like we said, API monitoring, internet traffic monitoring, having regulatory sandboxes. So if you are going to take very serious steps regarding AI usage, shadow AI usage, right? You can maybe, okay, within this department, we are going to do this and do this and do this regarding these AI tools. Let's see how much it impedes on people's progress, what works, what doesn't work. If we stop people from using this, if we stop people from using this, what works, what doesn't work. That's part of it. Like we also can also see capability restrictions. So maybe when you have that enterprise AI subscription, you can block off different capabilities within these AI tools so that people don't use them. Okay, maybe you can only type. There's no ability to upload anything to the AI tool. Also, having internal AI platforms for organizations that have the capability, right? They can have their own internal AI platforms that they have, right? Then we have private enterprise AI. So these are like models that you can host within, like maybe Microsoft or Google, like you can host it on their servers, but it's your own AI products that you're using on their own server. Then we have data sovereignty controls. This speaks to ensuring that data remains within your organization and that you have full control over it. So you can also see some of the governance standards regarding AI. We have the ISO, we have NIST, we have GDPR. Some of these are not within the African context. Some of these are for like the Western countries and all. But these are governance standards that even African countries can take a lesson from to apply. So gradually, we're coming to the end of the presentation, and the the myth that people have is that it's possible to just kick shadow AI out totally. That's not possible. That's not possible. There's no way you want to go around it. There's no way you want to go around kicking shadow AI out totally, right? But the more reasonable way to go about it is that you can continuously reduce the risk that shadow AI poses to your organization by not banning shadow AI tools, but managing how people use shadow AI tools
within your organization, incentivizing switching to more secure AI tools, getting enterprise subscriptions to encourage people to use these AI tools, educating people on what kind of data they can upload into AI tools or not, and checking your traffic, checking your network to see what people are actually doing using your internet. So when you see these AI tools, part of things that people could do, right, is running a survey. If you run a survey and ask your staff, like especially when you want to get enterprise AI subscriptions, you can ask your staff that, okay, which AI tools do you use more? Which AI tools do you use the most? Which AI tool has the highest impact on your work? Then you can now start seeing that, okay, this is the kind of AI tool that will make sense to get an enterprise AI subscription for. Then you can even reach out to these organizations that, okay, you want to put your information in a sandbox, like you want to silo it to ensure that you have total control over the data that you are uploading into these AI tools. That's part of what we've discussed regarding enterprise AI subscription. So you cannot totally wipe out shadow AI, but you can greatly reduce the risk that it poses and the exposure that you have to your organization, while still ensuring that your organization and your staff and your employees have productivity. Example like we see, like some people use Microsoft already within their organizations, like for emails and all. So now a lot of people are just pivoting to Copilot. Like they have Copilot enterprise subscriptions. All the staff use Copilot, and you cannot access any other AI tool on any like industry device or company device using other AI tool. Right? You can't send things to AI tools. You can't upload things to AI tools. You can only use Copilot. So I think it's also a call for different AI organizations to provide solutions that are suited to companies, that are suited to large industries, right? Not just single users. At this point, I have come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. I would now take your questions, feedback, and contributions.
Hi, Ezekiel. Good evening.
I
I don't know if
Stephen.
you're hearing. Okay, all right. Yeah. So thank you for the presentation. I think it was quite informative and basically bringing us up to speed on what is currently happening, especially with the case studies that you brought up. And so for me, I think the only thing I have to add or that I have to say is that I really agree with the statements and the solutions that you brought on board because I have a friend who works at a particular company, and so sometimes these are some of the issues, right? And especially with the rise of Claude, right? Claude is beginning to gain a lot of traction, and so some of the comments I hear is that, oh, the way their computer, like the way their work laptop is created, there are certain things that cannot work on it, and so just like you said, these are some of the things that they would need to consider thinking about as the AI world begins to evolve. Although they use Microsoft, the whole Copilot, just as you just said a few minutes ago, but then there's the aspect where it's seeming like other AI tools are becoming more known and have more capabilities than usual. So just like you said, I think something they need to consider is also finding out, okay, from the staff, what are the tools that you use a lot, and then seeing how to get like that enterprise premium effect for their staff members. But I think this was a really good one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you so much, Stephen. So I just wanted to also comment on that. Right? I think the reason why it's easier for people to use Microsoft Copilot as they create like organizational AI structures is because first, like Microsoft has a very strong distribution. Like they have like an ecosystem, they have things, they have the everything. Some people use Google Sheets, some people use like Gemini and all. And I think it's supposed to get like enterprise subscription for Gemini too. But yeah, it's a call for these AI tools that the business models are different for these AI tools that are more advanced, right? Like Claude, like ChatGPT, you know, to create enterprise kind of subscriptions that people can use. And it's also something for the organizations themselves, the company themselves to consider as we manage the AI tool. But for now, it feels that Copilot is like the best solution that people can turn to. So as people try to be more productive with an AI tool, that oh, maybe Claude can make slides, maybe Copilot cannot. I'm not sure. I don't use Copilot. Maybe Claude can do exactly what Copilot cannot. The AI tendency that people start sending stuff out. And I believe to an extent, a high percentage of the data that people work with might not be so sensitive, but there are some certain sensitive information that should not be sent out of the company without like proper guidelines. So that also brings us to the case of data classification and letting the what's it called, the staff know, oh, this kind of data is out of bounds, like payment details, client details, those things they should not be uploaded into their tools. But like simple things like drafting an email, um, making slides sometimes, maybe writing a summary, writing a speech. All those things are still like data that shouldn't be so consequential. But people should not be educated on what is out of limit, what is out of band. Thank you so much for the contribution to do we have any other question or contribution before we call it a day? I'll just okay, just go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me? Good
Yes, I
evening.
can.
Oh. Okay, yeah. So,
Really.
yeah, thank you for the presentation again. So, yeah, I just wanted to ask a question, but first of all, to be sure I know what I'm asking. Okay, you are saying that all these, I mean, chatbots, take for instance Gemini now. If I go and prompt my idea in it, another, and we had the discussions about one idea. Another person can go and prompt and ask for an idea, and Gemini might, in the process, share my idea with the other person. Is that what I mean? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're
Yeah.
not saying that if enterprises, if they subscribe, like, I mean, they go for enterprise plan, is there a way of
Yeah.
like protecting this data? So you're saying that if I now go and prompt again, those enterprise, I mean, organizations' data will not appear on my own prompt. Is that what I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify that?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to be
Yep.
sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think that what Microsoft does with Copilot. If you get like an enterprise subscription with them. Like I intern at World Trade Center Abuja, and like I saw this now and I saw it in real time. So we went to work at S&P Global, and part of their country directors or maybe regional directors was there, and just got into a conversation around AI tool usage. We were doing some technical stuff with their laptop. So that was even when we saw that they had like admin access to the key settings or administrative settings of the laptop. And it was now showing us that this is like an expatriate that just came into the country for a while. So it was now showing us that they can only use Copilot because they're a finance organization and they deal with very sensitive data too. So they can only use Copilot if you search ChatGPT on their browser. Like it will tell you that you can't go to that site. If you're a student of now, like how you cannot access some kind of site with the Wi-Fi. But this one is not even with the Wi-Fi. Like on that laptop, that site cannot open at all. So that's just some gadgets that people have put around. Yeah, thank you for your question. Any other person before we go? All right, I believe we don't have any other question. I just wanted to pass a comment before I end the meeting. There are sometimes a couple of these things that we discussed or that I've been kind of talking about for a while are still quite far away from the Nigerian context because number one, the sheer scale of many Nigerian companies doesn't even bring them to start thinking about strategy here for now. And if at all, it's not even if at all, it's already affecting a lot of companies in Nigeria already, right? But it's not yet come to the notice of big organizations that they should do something about it. So this is something that people would still revisit again and again over the next few days, years, over the next few months, over the next few decades to come. I don't even think it's real to decades. Like something by next year to 3 to 5 years, you start seeing business leaders coming together to have conferences regarding regulating AI usage within their organization, and it's becoming more important. I'm running the African AI policy review, and you will find that when our team members, when we post online, you see that a bunch of people that engage in those posts are not even within Nigeria. Like they're usually like expatriates outside the country, like business executives outside the country. So it shows that like within the Nigerian context, a lot of these things still don't make sense to people yet. That also comes back to AI literacy. Many people just use these tools. It's like maybe the more tech savvy organizations, they're able to put things in place. And even when they're able to put things in place, or when they think of putting things in place, the sheer scale of the organization, sometimes they are not able to finance getting like enterprise IT or enterprise AI subscriptions. Um, we'll still see how things are going to unfold over the coming months and over the coming years. I really appreciate your presence at this webinar this evening. We'll have another session coming up next week. Um, Looking forward to seeing more business leaders join this session and contribute on what they're engaging with. Thank you so much. Have a good night.